Good morning, everyone. For this morning's devotion, I'd like to think with you, what does it look like for us to come back together as a church? I think one of the most exciting thing, even for me now these days, is to consider the possibility of us gathering back as a church with things opening up again. It could be maybe weeks, perhaps we don't know, but it could be soon that we may be able to come back. And we're just preparing and thinking through what does it look like for us to come back as a church. And certain this is a time that's been challenging for us. We have been not meeting for a couple months now, and it's been a difficult time, but yet a very challenging time, yet a rewarding time, because I've learned so much in this time. I've learned to, as you might have learned, to care for people that are distant away from you. You cannot see them face to face, but you learn to care for people, you learn to call people, you learn to pray for people, you learn to think about people and have your heart be compassionate toward them, to give them a call. These are all the things that which the Lord has taught me and hopefully taught you in this time. However, as we're considering opening back up again, perhaps one of my thoughts and one of your thoughts could be, well, maybe we get to live life as which we have been before this whole closure and this whole quarantine process happened. Perhaps we can go back and fellowship as usual, sing as usual, and see people's faces as usual. And I think there's some of the things that when we go back, we're going to be doing as usual, but there's some things that are going to be different. Obviously, we're going to keep the process going in which we can keep one another safe when we do gather back as a church. There's going to be something we're going to be doing differently. However, even when we do come back as a church, I think for many of us, we might not consider the fact that there's some people who might not be able to return to the church as fast as others. There are some precautions that must be taken for others who are elderly, who have been struggling with pre-existing conditions. Then they might have to stay back a little bit longer in order to care for their own health a little bit better. And so one of the passages I want to read to you today is from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 3. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 3 is a good passage talking about remembering those who are not with them. And talk about those people who are not with them at the church, whether they're away or whether they've been persecuted, they're in prison, etc. And verse 3 says, for those who are not with them, remember them as though you're with them. For those who are suffering, remember them as you are suffering with them. And that's one of the things that I hope to kind of instill in our hearts this morning, that we will remember others in the same way that which you're remembering them now that we're not with them. When we do come back, yes, some people will come back. Some people might not come back as quickly. But our heart is that whatever it is that we learned in this time, whatever it is that we have been doing this time in ministry, that we will continue to do that, because that might be our ministry model for the months to come, given the fact that this quarantine process is going to slowly come to an end. So I want to encourage you to love and to care for people as you have been.